Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today we are talking a 2009 film, a sci-fi fantasy film, shall we say, which was very successful back in the day. It's District 9. Not many famous, well, no famous actors in this movie at all. The effects in this, shall we say, quite good. We'll get onto the effects later in this. So we're talking this. Let's go to Jake. What is your first opening thoughts on District 9?
This has to be one of, or if not, my favourite film of all time. I find it incredible. I love it. The setting of it, and it shows how utterly horrible humans can be to things that are different to them. It's basically a reflection of what the African slums are like in the real world. And you've got these aliens being treated by utter shit by these people. And I love the whole documentary style of it and how it switched between one genre and another one. It's worked so well. And I remember being obsessed with it when I first watched it, and I still am now. And boy, am I glad we've rewatched it. I didn't like the main character deserved everything he got. I thought he was such an arsehole. And I'm so glad you go through this. That when he's putting his nails off, I was like, yeah, you fucking arsehole. How's it feel? And then, the prawns themselves, I found incredibly fascinating. Their society and how they work, the way they look, the way they move, the way that they interact with each other. Brilliant design. Brilliant vocalization with each other. Because obviously, someone's had to go and create this whole new language for these aliens to speak, and it's great. That's all it is. I can't find a single flaw with it. That's how much I love it.
Thank you, Jake. We'll get back to you in a bit, shall we? We'll let you know what the judges think of your speech there. Susan.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
am I on this podcast? Well, hello. Let's see. I really like the fact that it was set in South Africa, and I like the fact that there was the Johannesburg District 9 was so much like the black townships during apartheid. Apartheid was a big snafu, and so was this. And so it was basically looking at what if in the same way that Johannesburg split down the middle in the early 1900s to apartheid people, what if that happened again with aliens? And the aliens were I mean, at the beginning you were like my first sort of couple scenes of them, I was like, interesting. And then I realized that the human interaction with them was just devastating for them. And they'd taken them off their spaceship because they were hungry, but they weren't really treated well enough to, except for like there was one father and son who were able to, gather their resources, their intellect, and put it towards the problem and solve the problem and try to get back to the ship and then, off this stupid planet of ours. And I loved that they were sort of quarantined, because here we are in quarantine again. Again, it's sort of interesting what this is saying about us and what's going on now. And especially here in Chelsea, where they have lines that are 4 blocks long, 5 blocks long, 6 blocks long, half a mile long to get food on a morning. because I mean, this is the hardest hit. It was the hardest hit of the U.S. So to have these aliens going through what we're going through, I mean, it's like revelatory. Anyway, and I love the design. I agree with Jake. Like the design was brilliant, and their interaction was cool, and Peter Jackson, another really awesome Peter Jackson movie. That was surprising. So there you go.
At least, Susan, you haven't taken up to eating cat food. So,
Well,
yeah, over to Philip.
okay. Now, this movie kind of reminded me of a TV show that was going on probably later, earlier or later on when this movie came out. Something called, you'd know it, Lee, Alien Nation.
Alien Nation, based on a movie, yeah.
Yes. So it gave me shades of that, with having aliens having to live amongst the humans and share the planet, that sort of thing. Now, the aliens themselves, were they actually animatronics or were they actual actors inside? Because there's no way you can fit an actor inside those.
Animated, they're CGI.
Oh, there you go. There's my question answered. Thank you. I like the story, but you know what was sad about it for me mostly is that as that bloke was slowly turning into one of the prawns, he eventually, basically, to the humans, he disappeared from the face of the earth. He's no longer who he was. So nobody knows where he's gone or what happened to him. And there he is amongst the prawns, being a prawn. And I thought it was a sad thing for him to go through. But overall, the movie was interesting. It was somewhat harrowing at some points where you, as Susan said, it was like Johannesburg, a sort of like apartheid thing where it's all like desecrated. They're living their own squalor. They're very sort of underachieving and all that. But it was fun. It was all right in some places, and it was like a bit sad in others.
Thanks, Philip. I will move over to Connor.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about this movie, as has most film fans, to be honest. It's often hailed one of the greatest sci-fi movies of the noughties. And I'd never seen it before now, but I had seen the original short film that it was that it kind of got extrapolated on and adapted into to make this movie called Alive in Joburg, which is pretty much the same concept of like alien government officials running around killing aliens. Which is a great short movie. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch it. It was Neil Blomkamp's first feature-length movie, and you don't usually see people breaking into the industry with these sorts of films. Something so, what I imagine is high-budget, high-concept, sci-fi, devastatingly personal, though. It went into a lot of topics that kind of ring home and ring true in the modern world, like racism, xenophobia, corporate corruption, just a devastatingly personal undertone to such a high concept sci-fi film. And that's what kind of sets it apart from your normal sort of alien invasion sort of films, even though it's not really an alien invasion. They're just kind of integrating into society. Yeah, as Lee mentioned, there's literally no known actors in this, which is to make it such an achievement in itself that this movie was so great. That's fantastic. That is so good that they were able to put together a cast that was able to kind of pull off such a good movie as this, based on little to no experience. I gotta say though that I thought that, and maybe it's because I've seen films since like The Jungle Book and Lion King and stuff like that, that have kind of pushed the boundaries of CGI. I wasn't massively impressed by the CGI, but that could be, as I said, just because I'm looking through it through the lens of someone that's seen movies 11, 12 years on, where there's been so many CGI advancements.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very exciting story. The technical aspects of it, the CGI part was phenomenal. If you actually watch very closely, you'll notice, and this is one thing that they use in a lot of action films to make it more exhilarating and more exciting, is the camera actually never stops moving. It's always shaking or it's always twisting or turning. and that just kind of gives you the feel that you in the moment, you kind of, you know, it's high stakes, high drama, high adrenaline sort of action. And some of the action scenes were fantastic. You know, some of the gunfights and Workus and Christopher, his alien companion, kind of breaking into the headquarters and blowing everything to shit. That was brilliant. But yeah, just I think that the thing that really made this movie was just the devastatingly human undertone to it, with the racism and the xenophobia sort of concepts. And it's also kind of interesting as a character how Workus got more humane the less human he got. If you notice that was, the more he became an alien, the more humane he got, which was kind of interesting, sort of a paradox, I guess you could call it. Yeah, great movie, and I can see why it's got so much praise, and I'm now glad I've finally been able to see it.
Thank you, Connor. High praise from Mr. Farley there. It's for me, I'm not keen on, what do they call it? Is it found footage movies? And this is sort of, you know, where they were doing the interviews, sort of like a documentary. I'm not keen on that sort of thing. We went through a spate of these around this period, beginning with like Blair Witch and onwards. And this is, you know, in a space of like 10 years, you get Cloverfield and stuff like that. I'm not so keen on movies with that sort of footage. But once they sort of toned it down with the interviews in the movie and the story started and the action started, it got me more interested in it. Yeah, I agree with Conor about the main character. He was a right bastard to begin with to the aliens, and as more he changed into the prawn, he became more human and more likable. The effects, yeah, they're brilliant for the time. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the spaceship looks wonderful up in the Johannesburg sky, just amazing. And they say the fight scenes are awesome, especially. And it is, if they had a couple of big named actors in this, I don't think it'd have worked. If
you think it would?
If you'd have thrown, I don't know, if you'd have thrown Tom Cruise into this and someone else, I don't think it'd have worked. People went to see this hearsay about the humans against the aliens, and that was it. No big names. It was how we as humans treat something we're afraid of and we're not used to, like the aliens there, you know, like a different race. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So I haven't watched it. This will be my second time watching this. So I only watched it the first time when I bought it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's good. It was good to rewatch again. Who suggested, was this Jake? Did you suggest this one?
Ooh. Well done.
Good suggestion. So we'll go around. Favourite moments, things you wasn't so keen on. Susan's got the mic there, ready to go. Let's go to Susan.
Great suggestion, Jake. Yeah, the things that I liked about it, I liked the interaction of the father and son alien, and I liked the way the aliens were interacting with the Nigerians and the Congolese and the Black South Africans and stuff, and buying weapons and selling weapons, and they had their whole little bazaar down there, and they all lived together down there. There wasn't it wasn't a, you know, shipping in supplies, oops, sort of thing. Whoa, just spilled my water. And I liked how they had buried their ship, their little shuttlecraft as it to utilize a Star Trek vernacular. It was their shuttlecraft and how they were trying to get that back to the mothership. And I liked how they called it a mothership too, because the mothership is pretty fun. I mean, that always reminds me of George Clinton, the mothership connection, the parliament. Anyway, some funk for y'all. Anyway, yeah, those are my favorite moments, I suppose.
Thanks, Susan. Let's go to Philip.
Okie dokie. I'm going to echo what Lee said about the kind of like the found footage aspect of it. It does kind of take you out of the momentum of the story. And in some senses, okay, it's fine if they did it at the end, where they're sort of saying, well, we didn't know what happened to him, blah, blah. That part of it, I would have been satisfied with that kind of coda. And for the movie itself, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I was more interested in the journey of the guy's transformation. That's what kept me watching it, because every bit you saw of him, there's a bit more added to him in an insectoid way, and I thought it was kind of horrific. And that was probably my favourite part of the movie, watching him progress. And then, obviously, as Connor said about the laboratory side of it, where they're trying to break in to get the that cylinder. Is that what it came with? That's what it came for, the cylinder, what the bloke got infected with. So yeah, that was kind of fun for a bit. I would have liked a bit more, shall we say, alien versus police shootout kind of thing, like gangster type thing, because you had that kind of gangsters, I'm not going to say that word, I nearly said it then, like the South African gangsters, and the one in the wheelchair and all that lot. I liked them, but they were a bit...
He was Nigerian.
Nigerian? I was going to say just Woggy, but never mind. But
no, he's a Nigerian guy.
Yeah, a Nigerian gangster. Anyway, they got what they deserve as well. So in a way, I'm glad he got himself blasted to Woggy bits. So there you go.
Oh my God. Let's go to Jake.
Well, I agree with what all of you have said, to be honest. This wouldn't have worked with celebrities because it's a more stronger documentary feel with people you've never seen before, because it feels more real. Let's say you put this, and we didn't have all these movies out, and you put this on TV and said, here's a documentary about something that you don't know what's going on in the world. People believe it, because that's the feeling I got. Like all the slum stuff, and they're filming it as a documentary. If that was put on TV, you'd kind of believe it, because that's how realistic it got sometimes. And I know I've said I want a sequel, but the more I've been sitting here thinking about it, I'd rather have a prequel, set a couple of in the first month, aliens are in these camps and stuff and interacting with humans. I want to see what it was like past the documentary stuff you saw. How bad did it actually get for them to put them all in this camp thing? And I think that'd be quite an interesting prequel for them to explore. How did the time of how did the people in the 80s cope with these aliens walking around? Because that's what I presume happened before they put them in these slums. They're walking about with everyone. So I reckon it'd be a really interesting path for the filmmakers to walk down if they chose so, and maybe even do a sequel. But I think you could fit more information into a prequel at the moment with what we know than what you can have a sequel. But anyway, yeah, it's a great film. I think out of everyone, Lee knocked it on the head the most with what he was saying. It's a very good film, and I just hope we get more of it, to be honest, because it's been over 10 years now, and it's needed.
I have one particular question. Did they come initially to invade, or was it just the fact that their bus broke down and needed somewhere to kip out?
Well, it was never explained, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think it was more that the spaceship kind of crashed. It didn't crash, but it kind of just broke
ran
down.
out of power or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jake, why don't you write the prequel and send it to the filmmakers?
I'll do that now.
And make Brenda the main character.
The sequel could be when they return from the planet. What was it, in 3 years?
Susan's got a point. The sequel could follow. It's been like 11 years since. It should be 11 years, and it will follow what happened to all these aliens in the new camps, and them coming back to save them, and the whole firefight that causes it. I think it'd be really interesting as a sequel too.
Yeah, true. Yeah, let's go to Connor.
I actually have to disagree about the found footage. The interview aspect, sometimes it doesn't always work. I think this is one of only 2 films I've seen that ever really nail it, and the other one is Interstellar, which is a fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. And I think it adds a new perspective onto it, and it does give it like a documentary sort of style. But I think one of the things I didn't mention in my opening thoughts, actually, that kind of throughout maybe the first half an hour, kind of dominated my thoughts was how kind of like comedic. It's almost like Workus was drawn up to be this bumbling idiot, sort of almost comedic character. And as Jake has got as his background there, moments where you've got aliens in bras and stuff like that. It's got its fair share of comedy moments, despite such dark and sort of personal tones to it. And yeah, I did like the bits with the Nigerian crime lord sort of gang. That was great, and I would have liked more of them as well. Yeah, it was just overall a very good sci-fi movie, which is very difficult in this day and age to kind of pull off because everything sci-fi has been done before.
Exactly.
And it's been done to death. It's probably one of the most done to death genres out there. So it's kind of mix a few elements together and get such a sort of personal and emotional journey out of it, as Workus did. Was splendid job, and I would definitely be up for a prequel or a sequel, whichever way they choose to go.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Connor there. The main character is made out to be the comedic element, but also the element that you hate as well. To begin with.
But did it make you care about him after, as you went along with him? Did it make you?
As he gradually morphed into a prawn, you get to feel for him more. But some of the scenes, like where the medical people get hold of him and they're doing all these experiments on him, that was a bit but because they didn't see him as human anymore. Even his father-in-law didn't want to know him.
Yeah,
and that was a bit harsh, lying to his lying to his wife about his son-in-law. And I think, wow, this is what. Well, it was humans down to a T. How horrible and evil they can be. The way where there was experimenting on the aliens and destroying the aliens just to find out how the weapons work. That's all it was, wasn't it? They wanted control of those weapons. So, and they got it in the end, of course, because he was morphing into the alien. It's really well done. And as I say, the crime lord section, where you find out that these people are eating the alien meat to become as one. I think, no, please, no, thank you. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was nice to rewatch. Sequel, prequel, I doubt it's going to happen. To be honest, since this movie was made, it was that successful. There was talking about sequels, and it's never happened. So I think it's gone too long now for a sequel to happen.
I mean, the director of this a couple of years ago, for anyone that's kind of like in the film news kind of area, would know that he was making a Alien movie, a sequel. I think it was the fifth one at the time. This was before Covenant. Is that the fifth one in Alien?
Alien Covenant.
Prometheus, wasn't it?
Prometheus, that's the last one.
It was Prometheus and Covenant.
Yeah, this was in between Prometheus and Covenant. He was actually going to make an Alien film, and then that kind of got scrapped. And since then, he's had a few not well received movies. So I don't think he's really going to be able to get the budget or the studio on board.
Yeah.
This late in the game to kind of do this again, unfortunately. But we'll see.
Well,
What's cool about this is that even though he had planned all these things and he had done and then he'd done this, was that they chose to set this in Africa and not in Europe or New Zealand or Australia. They chose South Africa for so many reasons, and
the main reason was the apartheid.
And I don't know enough about the cultures and the people in South Africa and Africa at all to know like who was what kind of person. Like there are like 100 different tribes and countries that are represented in Africa, and I don't know who is who in this. And so that was pretty interesting, like not knowing anything about anything and watching a movie about aliens and still learning a little bit about something.
So we learn a little something every week when we do these casts. Anything else what anybody likes to say?
It was nice to see that human prostitutes were quite happy to have sex with the aliens as well.
And it was made out to be having sex with aliens in the papers.
Yeah, there you go.
Nothing changes there. The papers always lie. Well, some of them do. Right, we'll go to our final stage score then. Philip.
Final score for this: very gritty, very realistic, very human, I would say. I'll give this a decent 10 because I liked it very much.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Connor.
I'll give this a District 9 out of 10.
Oh, I like how he did that. Jake.
Fantastic film. Absolutely adore it. So it's a 10 from me.
Right. And Susan.
I'll give this District 8.5. No, I'll give this 8.5 of their funky weapons and stuff out of 10.
For me, the found footage thing, interviews, style, it grates on me most of the time. So for that, I'm giving it 8.5 cans of cat food out of 10.
Meow!
So, you guys, it's always a pleasure talking movies and stuff on our casts, and thanks for joining us today talking District 9. We will be back next week, hopefully. And if you guys out there like this, please leave a comment. Yeah, we're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube as well. You know, if you like what we're doing, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs down. You know, as I always say, Geeks Assemble, it's variety. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We'll take anything. And if you want to join the cast, please leave a message. We'll get back in touch with you. It may take a while, but we'll get back in touch with you and we'll get you on some of these casts. So until next time, hope you all stay safe and stay aware, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.